Hello Ingo. It's time for another mole story. I'm afraid I've been offline for a rather long time. My computer broke. Then I got a new computer, which is this one, which is excellent. But then, unfortunately, it didn't work quite right, and I spent a lot of time trying to get it working. And now, well, we'll see how we get on. Anyway, today's story is called Mole Goes on Holiday. And he always, when he went on holiday, because he was a bit of a snob, he always wore his top hat when he went on holiday, like that. So he was a very smart mole, okay? And he always made sure he took his sunglasses, obviously, because moles don't like the light very much. But he went off on his travels, and the first thing he did was hit a huge amount of concrete. Obviously, he was under the earth, burrowing away, and bang, he hit all this concrete, and it went on and on and on for miles. And he burrowed this way, and he burrowed that way. None of it helped. Concrete. Because what he'd done is he'd hit a dam, and dams go deep under the earth into their foundations, and they're massively thick to be able to take the weight of the water pushing down and outwards. See? So that wasn't really much good to him. He couldn't get round this dam. He had to give up and take another path. Next thing was, he burrowed away and he came across some very sweet smells. He didn't recognise them. He went up in the air, looked, thought, and then the smells became very aromatic. Aromatic smells? I don't know them, said Mole. Nothing else for it. I'm going to have to go up and have a look. And up he went, until he reached the top and poked his head out. And the sun was bright, so he had to put his sunglasses on. Right, so Mole now has his sunglasses on, so he really is a dapper chap. What did he see? He'd actually come up in a brewery yard, and there were some coopers trying to make barrels for the beer, as they do. And the boss, the manager, was standing there shouting at his coopers, "I want the barrels much bigger, bigger, he said. I want them at least 32 foot high." And the chief cooper said, 32 foot, boss? That's 10 metres. Have you any idea? Don't argue with me. We don't work in metres, we work in feet, and it's going to be 32 feet high, and I don't want any arguments about it. But, said one of the other younger coopers, if you were to work in metres, no, stop. We're working in feet because we're British. Thought the Mole. This is going to go wrong. If he'd worked in metres, he would have been able to work out how huge the forces at the bottom of the barrel would be. But because he insisted on working in pennyweights per cubic fortnight, or whatever it was, of course he had no idea what the forces were, and he was instructing the coopers to use the same planks of oak that they would use for a barrel that's only maybe 1.5 metres high. Well, Mole thought, I think I'm going to take my holiday here because this looks as though it could be very interesting. And so he did park his little tent in a corner where nobody could see. It actually, his tent looked like a molehill, but we won't go into that. Parked his little tent where nobody could see it, and it was out the way, and he decided to watch what was going on. Well, they built this barrel and it went up and up and up, and the coopers kept joining the hoops together to make them go round and kept putting them every 2 feet. Of course, eventually the boss realised that there was an awful lot of steel strip coming through the front gate that he was having to pay for. And he came out to look at where it was all going, and when he saw the hoops were every 2 feet, he said, I don't want them every 2 feet. I want them every 6 feet. No, make it 10 feet. That's plenty. And off he stormed again. Well, the coopers were past arguing at this point. He wants the hoops every 10 feet. He gets the hoops every 10 feet. And they put the hoops every 10 feet. But on a 30 metre vat, that's only 3 hoops. 2, 3. Must stop bashing the microphone. It's only, and so that's what they did. And then they started pouring the beer in, at which point Mole put his umbrella up, because he knew things were not going to go well. And eventually it got about 3/4 full, and he could hear the planks at the bottom starting to creak. And then there was a big split, and the Coopers rushed for high ground, and thousands of litres of beer poured out on the ground, washed out the gate, down the road, round the corner, swept 3 washerwomen away, took a couple of houses too, and drowned 3 innocent workers. Now, that actually sounds a bit funny, doesn't it? But you know exactly that happened. Well, okay, it didn't exactly happen, because actually I don't think there was a mole there watching at the time, although there might have been. But around about 1860, in the Courage Brewery in London, they built a seriously huge barrel. And guess what happened? They hadn't done their sums, because the boss didn't pay attention during his physics lessons, and consequently the barrel burst and many people lost their lives drowned in beer, which might sound a great way to go, but it isn't. Mole did get rather wet, but he was able to burrow quickly underground and get away from the flood. And when he came back up again, he found his coat was actually drenched in beer, and he had a fine old holiday licking it all off again. That's the story of Mole 3. Let me know what you think about it, and I'll try and come up with another one, but unfortunately my computer may have to go back to base, so it might all get a bit held up again. Have a lovely evening. Stay safe. Bye bye.